And sometimes helping people involves nothing more than having conversations,
Yeah.
writing papers or statements in the newspaper or something, sending out letters to
Yeah.
people.
Maybe we saved the world by fixing their printer. Oh man, if we still had that business, that would be a perfect commercial.
Well, and the importance, like, of your own life. Like, no individual is insignificant. That you only know in hindsight. You don't know in the here and now.
Like, this is probably how wars start. Like,
Mhm.
I see civil wars starting in social media.
The reason human beings are going into space and building autonomous robots and all this stuff and quantum computers is because of this competitive uh, uh, force that we have.
Yeah.
Woo! Welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and hey, we'd love it if you'd like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and all that jazz. That'd be great. Thumbs up.
And I'm Casey Rochford. Like comic relief from his comic reliefs. I may be having beer for dinner. And
Yeah, me too.
you should join us for dinner and sit down with a nice meal and a nice cold beer and stick around to the end of the episode right there, because there's going to be a song that goes great. It pairs perfectly with whatever dinner you're having and whatever beer you're having. It's just right on the palate. Yeah.
Yeah, like sherry wine. Yeah.
Or, like light beer. It goes with everything. Yeah. It goes with chicken. It goes with your cereal. It goes with, I don't know.
Your cereal.
Anyway.
Apple Jackson beer. Yes.
Before somebody like performs an intervention, what would you like to talk about tonight?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that we could talk about, but I was informed today there was a poll recently performed by, or do you perform a poll? Whatever.
Conduct.
Conduct. Yeah, a poll
Yeah.
conducted by The Economist and YouGov recently that found that like 40-ish% of people in the US think it's at least somewhat likely that a civil war is possible within the next 10 years in the US, like Civil War 2.0.
Uh-huh.
So I would kind of like to talk about that, because that kind of shocked me.
Really? Like, shocked you that people think it's possible, that it's that soon, that it could even like be a thing in this day and age?
Well, maybe, yeah, kind of, that it could be a thing. Like, especially because we're so, in the US, we're so spread out. There aren't like tiny countries of people. I mean, in a way, maybe there are, but they're not. They kind of span state borders, and they're more geographic and stuff. And there's like a little bit of this and there, and a little bit of that over there. And
Well, the horror of it is, with a civil war, you don't really have borders. You don't have a nice line you can draw. So it's kind of like this, like camouflage pattern of skirmishes that would be going on. like
Yeah.
Eastern Washington versus Western Washington, or you could break it down into the city too, like North Tacoma versus South Tacoma. Like it might be that nuts, and I kind of think it's possible. I think I'm foregoing, that I have that suspension of disbelief that it could occur just because of like how vitriolic people are getting toward each other.
Yeah,
Like
that
it's
is
pretty strong.
okay, and that you're right. Like that is the thing that kind of leads me to believe that there could be a flashpoint. I now I don't know there would necessarily be battle lines or fronts or anything like that, or some kind of cohesive strategy behind it. It'd be like, well, there's a fight going on over there, so why don't we fight too? And people just start fighting each other because everybody else is fighting.
I think it would essentially be anarchism, just not like the happy peacenik kind that you would prefer. I think it would be more like the thing that most people envision anarchy to be, because you can have it both ways, like peaceful or like totally rage chaos, like
Well, yeah,
stuff, like
a chaotic version of anarchy.
yeah.
And yeah, well, that is kind of a
Because I
thing.
mean, we've talked about several times before, like how easy it would be to just like not acknowledge the government anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but like enough people need to do it at once to like hit that equilibrium where like the people that really wouldn't be pushed to do it are finally like pushed to do it and be like, okay, fuck the government, I gotta defend my house against these crazy motherfuckers, and like you just start breaking the law because the law doesn't matter anymore.
Oh man, there's like two songs that we could put in if we anarchy in the UK and breaking the law. Like we could have thrown those in back to back if
Because I wanna be breaking the law,
no,
breaking the law.
don't even do that because that'll demonetize us. Um, even if you
But
pretend.
who gets the money, Johnny Rotten or Rob Halford?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. Hey, why don't we
Yeah, if we
throw
just
that
do
out there?
mashups,
Why don't we start a war by doing that very thing and just see what the outcome is? Like, okay, you think you're so smart. Go ahead and figure it out now, bitch.
Who's better, the Sex Pistols or Judas Priest? All right, fight.
Oh man. Yeah, I just I guess I worry that things are so divided and divisive and artificially polarized. You look at a political map of the US, and there's red and there's blue and then maybe purple if they're a little bit more
Yeah, I like the ones that
expansive.
look more like a thermal map, where
Yeah, except there's no
gradients and
there's
stuff.
no colorless version that incorporates that into the map. Like
Right.
people who just don't want to be a part of this political mumbo jumbo and nonsense. That never factors into the equation. Um, but the thing is, like, it's not. There aren't like clear cut factions and regions that are all. People look at things they do. For simplicity's sake, a lot of people divide things up by state, right?
Yeah.
Um, but if you look at any given state in the U.S., well, it's a mix of everything. I mean, yeah, okay, it might weigh one direction or the
Yeah.
other, but there's
Yeah.
a little bit of everything all over the place. Um, so this idea that there's going to be some kind of, well, it's like the red coats versus the Americans or something like that. Like it's not going to work like that. And even in the Revolutionary War, it wasn't like that. I think the Revolutionary War soldiers comprise like 3% of the population. Like that, those are the people who were fighting here. Um, but yet that 3% like made the difference. They were the thing that everybody looked to define whether the U.S. was like its own nation or not, or part of Britain or
Yeah.
not. Like, but it's 3%. Like, oh man,
Like I'm curious if we could do like a hypothetical where it's either this or that. Like if that happened and it was just like these little pockets of skirmishes, and where in like a larger land you may or may not be the minority. So it's like really it depends on where you are in the country, if you're a rebel or with the empire or whatever, like
yeah,
it but if it came to that, like a dichotomous civil war style thing where it's like in your front yard, just like on the regular, and you felt pushed enough, like which side do you think you would run to defend, just so you could like survive and your loved ones could survive maybe?
well, I think back to a song that I've loved ever since I was a kid by Mike and the Mechanics called Silent Running. And in that song, one of the lyrics says, "Swear allegiance to the flag, whatever flag they offer. Never let them tell you, never tell them what you really feel." And that would be, I guess, because, I don't want to fight your
That's deep.
stupid fight. Yeah, I don't want to fight your war. I would rather be left alone. I would rather live and let live. But if the French Revolution is happening here and Robespierre is cutting off heads, well, I don't want to be a boat rocker at this point. I'm going to pretend to side with whoever is in the lead.
So you would just kind of like play Switzerland and try not to get into it too deep, right?
Well, yeah, because self-preservation. Like I would, my family, myself, and
Yeah.
my family as it stands is pretty limited. I've got friends and a cat and a chicken, and some spiders.
And
But
like 9 girlfriends.
well, yes, that too. Now, of course, they have their own lives and their own directives, so I can't dictate that. But in order to preserve yourself, sometimes it's best to pretend, to placate the powers that be, whoever's ruling the roost, I guess. However, it's also important to know when to fight back against that, because
Yeah.
you could also end up with a Hitler if you were too complacent.
Well, that's where I was gonna go with it, is like I would do the same thing, but with this like ninja hidden intent
Yep.
to strike at whatever seemed like it was um kind of against my moral code, let's say.
Yeah.
Like I always feel compelled to do something I probably wouldn't normally do when it comes to injustice. Like if I see an injustice, I just feel so angry about that. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's like my upbringing and like all the shit that happened as a kid that made me that way, but I've always felt that way as far back as I can remember. If I saw an injustice, man, I was fuming mad. Like as a little 8-year-old kid, I kind of wanted to keep like a Batman costume with me. So if I saw like somebody getting picked on or whatever, or their parents were kind of abusing them, I could like put on my Batman outfit and run over there and kick them in the nuts.
and we all should actually do that. Like that is the right thing. Like protecting people against injustice. We should all be striving for that.
Yeah. And I
However,
mean, there's a choice to make to like protect yourself or protect others too, because you do have to like take care of yourself too.
mm-hmm.
So, not everybody has to go out and fight, but like you can do other things to support the people that do, and in so doing, like do your part to help.
Exactly. And sometimes helping people involves nothing more than having conversations,
Yeah.
writing papers or statements in the newspaper or something, sending out letters to
Yeah.
people. Like
Well,
that
like,
might be all that's necessary.
yeah, and our contribution to saving the world, however minuscule, is that we used to fix printers for the local army base or
Mm-hmm.
post, army post, Air Force base, army post. Well, it's a combo. Anyway,
Yeah,
we
JBL.
fixed their printers.
Mm-hmm.
We may have made it so that they could print something that really changed the tide of our, like political skirmishes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, maybe we saved the world by fixing their printer. Oh man, if we still had that business, that would be a perfect commercial.
Oh man. Well, and you're right though. Like sometimes the smallest action has the
Mhm.
biggest impact.
And you would never
Like,
know it.
well, no, and that's important for people, like because a lot of people are like, well, what? I don't mean anything. It's like, no, you do. Everybody plays a part in this play. Like everybody has a role. Like, and
Yeah,
it's
if
all
anyone
important.
is feeling depressed, just tell them where you would be in life without them,
Yeah.
because you'll be able to like think back over all the little things that come up in memory and be like, well, that wouldn't have happened, and if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have met my wife or whatever.
Or
Like,
change
yeah,
somebody's life. Or well,
yeah.
okay. So I guess my movie recommendation for today, because I like to do that, would be It's a Wonderful Life. Um,
Or the cobbler is good too. Did
oh
you ever see
yeah.
that? Adam
Yeah.
Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
He like had these like, I forget what was magic, but like he could put on someone's shoes and like actually like be in their shoes, right?
Yeah.
And that was super cool and touching. Like that was a really good serious role he did.
All right. So we got two movie recommendations today.
But that's kind of, yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, and like living, walking a mile in someone's shoes and all that.
Well, and the importance, like, of your own life. Like, no individual is insignificant. That you only know in hindsight. You don't know in the here and now. Like Gandhi could not have known in in the here and now if his life would be significant. But in hindsight, it's like, oh wow, that was super impactful. Like he's actually like in this era, kind of one of the most important people.
And
Um,
it can be negative too. Like this is
uh,
probably how wars start. Like
mhm,
I see civil wars starting in social media. And you
mhm.
might think that sounds really piddly and like it could never spark, but it's those small influences you make on other people's lives with your interactions with them that shape the direction of things. And it could be that these little skirmishes on Twitter and Facebook turn into actual legit people killing each other in the streets in a civil war.
Well, okay, as far as civil war goes, like I could see how like the meme war turns into a hot war,
uh
but I would prefer it to stick with like a meme war. Like
oh, for
could we
sure.
not just like have it be a bunch of people creating memes, like trying to one up each other constantly, like sports. Like this is sports for all its faults. Sports is a thing that kind of like civilized humanity, turned us from savages who would be inclined to take up the axe and scalp somebody because they disagree with them. And then it turned into like a numbers game. Like basically, it's like a bunch of nerds thrown around like some kind of oddly shaped ball on a field or something like that, and people love it. Like maybe that's the kind of war we should have.
Well, and that sort of thing is necessary to express. And I think that's how shit turns into hot wars, is that like, you know, you have to get that off your chest. You have to like get that anger and stuff out somehow. And sometimes you don't care how it's directed. You might go play a video game and be violent in the video game, and that's good enough for you. But other
Yeah.
people might actually need to kill people, you know, and instead of becoming a serial killer, nobody take this the wrong way. Instead of becoming a serial killer, you just join the military. I'm not saying everybody is
Well,
a
yeah.
serial killer, but like you could see someone doing that, being like, because I know there are a few that, you know, especially with the draft back then, you know, like they would be like, this is my chance to like let my dragon out and kill people. And, you know, that does happen, but I'm not saying it's like a majority thing. But anyway, like anger has to, you can't stop anger. Like there's like all these positivity people, like the toxic positivity people that are like, oh, don't be angry. There's no need to be angry. It's like, yeah, you got to get pissed sometimes.
Well, and human beings, well, in fact,
That's how you
honestly,
save people. Oh, I'm pissed that they're about to kill that kid. You know, that's
all
anger.
life,
That's good.
all life on Earth is competitive. We have like here on Earth, and I don't want to like separate us from dolphins or gorillas or whatever. Like living things, intelligent beings have a competitive angle. We are competitive, and that's a good thing. Like this is the reason human beings are going into space and building autonomous robots and all this stuff and quantum computers is because of this competitive uh, uh, force that we have amongst ourselves. And it's good. And but it's good that we have an outlet that is non-violent. Like, why can't the outlet be building robots, building better robots, and besting each other in battle? Well, okay, another movie recommendation, which I think I've recommended before, which is Robot Jocks. The idea is the US and the Soviet Union, we had a huge nuclear exchange. Like the Cold War went hot, and well, like shit tons of people died. And they're like, the people remaining are like, we should probably not let this happen again. So instead of competing on the battlefront, we'll compete in an arena with our best robots and our best robot jocks. Um, and whoever wins, like if there's a territorial dispute or whatever, like whoever wins will just agree, like, oh, okay, I guess you get that because, well, you beat us. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a better way to do things.
I would say that sounds like a perfect utopian fix, but then like step one layer back from that, like observing the people viewing that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it we have people rioting in the street when their team won? Like there would still be skirmish. There would still be, you know, micro antagonists that, you know, like set people off a little bit, right? You're never going to get away from that. But something you said earlier about not separating us from animals, like that might be a good philosophy to keep in the back of your head just to like save your life someday. Because like there are animals that, you know, we kind of know could subsist off of berries, for instance, but they're big and scary with giant claws. I'm talking bears here, right?
Yeah.
But like they kind of just like eat berries and fish. They're pretty chill animals. But like if you assume this stance, that's almost indistinguishable from a fight stance. And the direction it's going doesn't really matter in the heat of the moment. So it could just be that like instant reactions are what cause the predominant, you know, like animal attack scenarios. Obviously, like if you actually look like food to the animal, well, like you're not, you need to run. Um,
Well, and running might be a bad idea too, because you don't want to be prey at the same time.
yeah, but like, with bears as a specific example, like I think a lot of people, just because of the sheer size and stuff, would instantly like panic
Mm-hmm.
and have the fight or flight kick in and take over. And if you
Yeah.
could kind of like rein that in, it might save your life, because like animals can probably sense context just like we can.
Oh,
We don't sense context by like purely sound or purely interpreting what the words are. Like there's a lot, your body
your
language,
body
moving.
language, yeah, sensing fear essentially. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you
Mm-hmm.
project being a prey animal, well, then the this particular predator is going to view you in that light.
Yeah. Like
So that
me and in a group of people, and a bee comes around and everybody's like, ah, and they run away. And I'm just sitting there like drinking my beer and the bee's buzzing around me. And I'm like, you can't have my beer. You can be here, but you can't have my
so
beer.
so
I'm like chill about it.
well, okay. So when it comes down to like yellow jackets, I would be the former, like, and not the latter. Not I would
Well,
not be you. However,
that's context.
yeah,
They're assholes.
yeah, well, exactly. But I remember the party that one of our friends threw down the way, and the cops showed up, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's the cops!" And they ran and like were hopping over fences and stuff. And my friend Matt and I like went out like holding beers in our hands, drinking beer on the front lawn. Like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, well, we got a report there was some kind of altercation going on, some kind of disturbance in the forest. And we were like, yeah, well, there's like nothing happening. Um, and like we didn't care. Like I was over 21 at that point, and Matt was under 21, but we didn't really care. It's attitude, I guess, in that regard.
The best part is you're talking about a party I threw.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was the puking on the leather jacket party too.
No. That was New
What?
Year's. This was drunken debauchery.
Okay.
That you're referring to.
Mhm.
And it has a name, because what we did is we went to those little kiosks in the mall that make business cards, and we had business cards printed that said drunken debauchery with my buddy's address, a date and a time, and we handed them out to strangers at the mall.
Oh man.
So you can guess how that party went.
Yes, very debaucherous and chaotic.
Maybe if you head over to patreon.com/ksmvidcast and become a patron, you might hear more of that story.
Well, you might even see a video, although I don't think we recorded a video of that,
That
sadly.
would have been epic.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, so let's go back to the whole Civil War thing. Um,
Some of the stuff that happened at the drunken debauchery could be considered a civil war, but
it could be, or a solution to Civil War too.
that's true. Yeah.
Like, you know,
More beer.
yeah. Hey, sometimes you get along if you're drunk together.
Heineken ad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, like, no, that's actually like a really, like if we were the government of this country, I think we would handle, you know, international conflict by being like, hey, you want to come over and have a beer and just kind of talk about this?
Yep.
Like that's our cowboy diplomacy, like
Yeah,
I
pretty
think
much.
we would have a lot of success with that,
Mhm.
because yeah, like, it's not the best for your health, sure, but like it disarms people in the right, you know, context. Context is a two-way road. So
Yeah.
like you need to put into the effort to be open to peace.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be about conquering.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
feel like that's where this country is, like on a global scale. So it makes a lot of sense that its constituent, you know, dwellers um
Yeah.
also kind of have that same, grand blanket philosophy in their own life.
Well, it has kind of devolved into something like that. Like, no longer are we a live and let live country. We're like almost verging on imperialistic, um, which is sad. Like, we used to be the melting pot. We used to be the
Yeah.
place. Like, bring us your tired, your uh, well, shit. I can't remember the
Tired,
phrase.
weak, sick, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a
I
plaque
mean,
on the Statue of Liberty or something like that. Um,
I saw an article today. They're already talking about impeaching Biden for like doing stuff to help people, like with the student loans and all that stuff. Like I guess they're like, this is abuse of power. And like this is in our memories. We can remember a time when politics wasn't like this, but it's always doing exactly what the other side did, and then it's just going back and forth
it
and
flip flops.
amplifying.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like that episode of TNG with the like those things in the asteroids that were amplifying energy and sending it back, like
Oh,
magnified.
we just have to reverse the polarity.
Yeah, exactly.
That will fix
Eh,
it.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh,
That actually, I wonder if that was a clever Gene Roddenberry thing. Like, if you're a Star Trek nerd, you know what I'm talking about. But for those that aren't nerds, um, there was always this kind of ah, what's the what was I just talking about?
Gene Roddenberry nerds, the TNG episode with where the kid pretends to be Data.
Oh man, I don't know. I forgot my point. It was
Mm,
really good, but I forgot it.
mm.
Shit,
Ah, damn it.
beer
Well,
on beer on the brain.
too much beer, but that's okay. Hey, if you're drunk enough, you can't fight. So why not? You might just want to, or hey, if you're drunk enough or high enough, you might just want to like lay down and go to sleep for the night. That'd be good. Like, I just don't understand why things have to come to such violence. Like, sure, we're all going to disagree. We're going to just, humans disagree on all kinds of stuff. And that's okay. Why can't we just like get along
Well, okay.
despite those differences?
So you you often repeat like the initiation of force can never be justified, like a
Mm-hmm.
mantra.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason you have guns, right? Like if somebody is forcing themselves upon you, you react with violence and you justify that. So like there may be micro versions of that going on where it's not like, at some point it crosses a line where it's not likely to get lethal, but it could amp up, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I don't know, like
Well,
I
there,
think that there's violence in everybody somewhere. Like it's almost like the saying everybody has a price, right? Like everybody's got a snapping point
well,
where
you're right.
violence is just kind of natural.
You're right in that. However, I don't know that that's the automatic response we should default to.
Well,
Um,
no, not quickly or anything, but
well, yeah, like okay, if somebody is, well, let's just reduce everything to the most simple thing.
mhm.
You're living in a house, a hut, wherever, your RV or something, and somebody breaks into your place of residence, and conducts violence against you, well, yeah, you're automatically justified in responding in kind or more at that point. Like,
but that's all subjective, because to observers, they may not have the same values as either of the two parties involved in that particular skirmish. So like you start getting those like gray areas and those skews and people who observe giving their opinions on something, and that's how you create all this media politics bullshit.
well,
But I mean,
no, you're right, and that's where the courts should step in to fill in those blanks, but they don't. The court system is absolutely built around destroying lives,
yeah,
and not like making things better or more just.
yeah,
It's all about extracting.
it should just be about settling dispute.
Yes,
That's it. Full stop. Like,
wouldn't that be nice?
yeah.
Oh man,
Like to me, that's the one true natural law. Like I don't necessarily buy natural law when it comes to tools that we made. I just feel like dirty counting that amongst the word natural law. But the avoidance of a skirmish, take tools out of the equation. Yeah, that's natural.
Well, we should always take tools out of the equation.
Exactly. Like, like that's the phrase that tends to lean me a little bit more left on that argument than it used to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like we shouldn't really be fucking violent in the first place? Can we just sit down and talk about this?
Yeah.
Only it's painted more blue, so you don't really get that message. But like, I think that's more at the core of that particular end of the philosophy.
I totally agree with what you're talking about. Like, I'm picking up what you're putting down there.
Yeah. I'm glad someone is.
I don't like the fact that things are painted in a particular color, like team colors. Like, this is not a game. This is human lives we're talking about. This is our lives.
It's natural, there's physics to it. Like we're binary creatures. We have, I mean, technically we're, deca, but like the whole like 1 2 back and forth 0, or null and 1 or whatever, like that is, you see that in nature. That's polarity, like atoms and electrons and shit. Like it's natural to at some point boil it down to this or
that. And I don't disagree that we should avoid trying to condense things down to simplistic variants of themselves. No, I mean that is actually what humans do best, honestly. Like, taking super complex things and making them like really simple, but at the same time, then you end up with stuff like the French Revolution, or Hitler, or something like that.
Because where that differs from sports is like people actually get hurt and killed in government.
Yeah,
like government skirmishes are like MMA when it was like the first like 4 years of it, where you actually could die and like there wouldn't be any consequences,
like blood sport or something like that.
Like that shit was pretty legit. To be Ultimate Fighting 1 through 4. That's what I'm thinking. They call it UFC now, but like us old school guys that liked it back when you could like murder someone in the ring, we call it Ultimate Fighting Championship.
And it's kind of frustrating, I guess, that those same kinds of forces seem to apply across the board. That there's this idea that this totally artificial construct, which is politics and government, like it's completely made up. Like 100% of it is religious and just completely fanciful. Yet people die over this. They kill and they die over these completely made up constructs. Like, why? Why should that be a thing?
Just
Like,
about everything has been that way too.
yeah,
Like totally made up.
yeah, it is. Well, why can't we have a system where okay, humans often disagree on stuff. We always disagree, and that's okay. That's fine. That's how engineering works. That's how science works. That's progress. Like, we can't progress unless we disagree. It's fine. But why does it have to involve bloodshed? Why does it have to be like an arena where two men enter, one man leaves? Like, why does that have to be the way we conduct ourselves? Are we not better than that? Are we not more evolved than that? Can't we turn it into a game and have fun and agree that, like, well, this chess game, okay, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, but whoever wins, well, I guess you get that territory now, because we agreed to the terms and conditions in advance.
I mean, here's a deep philosophical thought. Biologically speaking, if there were no somewhat violent disagreements, there probably wouldn't be evolution to the point where we are now. Like,
No,
you won't evolve without conflict.
No, you are 100% correct that if it were not for conflict and the fact that we have a system of limited resources that we're all kind of fighting over and trying to figure out better ways of utilizing them, if it were not for that, we would not be going to space. We'd be a bunch of amoeba hanging out in a bunch of sludge now, today, millions of years later. Like, it is that conflict that bears that out. Like,
God damn,
for
the
better
show is
or
good.
worse. Yeah, yeah. I mean, for better or worse, that is a fact of life. That is the thing that makes us have to step up and come into our own and like realize our potential. Like, conflict is not a bad thing.
Yeah, but
inherently,
conflict also has a breaking point where it becomes defeat, and
yes,
that's the thing that you really don't want. Like, you don't want world wars. You don't want one person smashing all the other ants or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to, like, rise up against the Hitlers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good conflict to allow, but to like become a bully and do shit for the sake of doing shit, like to hurt other people. I mean,
Well, and that's how we end up with World War One, World War Two, potentially World War Three, which I don't want to say is on the horizon, but it might be. I don't know if it's going to be zombies or aliens or nukes. But yeah, well, that's kind of a good point. Like, here on planet Earth, we tend to look at ourselves in like this microcosmic sort of sense. Like, we exist on Earth, we're Earthlings, whatever. Well, no, most people don't. They're politically divided, they're geographically and nationally divided, and they look at their country and they're like, well, I'm Scandinavian, or I'm Norwegian, or I'm Russian, or I'm, African, whatever. But we're human. And we would be human if we were invaded by an alien force that was way more powerful than us. Like, we wouldn't stand a chance if we were not able to work together. Because if we could totally hold off. Honestly, like, my knowledge of humans, like, we absolutely could withstand any kind of aggressive uh, attack by almost any alien force from almost any place. Um, we would just have to work together. But we're fighting amongst each other over bullshit things like, we spend so much time fighting each other over popularity contests and politics and religion and whatnot. And it's like, oh, I'm with the blue team, I'm with the red team. Well, I'm Christian or I'm Muslim. And it's like, we're all the same. At the end of the day, we're all the same thing. And the aliens that are invading are not going to care what flag you're waving. They're going to like zap you out of existence all the same, no matter what flag you're waving.
Here's the thought. Like, what constitutes a world war? Because out of the two we've had, not literally every country was, involved in this war. Like, I really doubt that, like, Burundi in the heart of Africa was like heavily involved in World War One, right?
Or South America as a continent was probably
right.
not involved in World War II.
They never fuck with anybody.
Yeah.
Nor anybody fuck with them. Like, let's be South American if we're gonna like follow any kind of culture. Damn, that's a good point.
Yeah, like World War One was raging, and it was mostly a European war. While the Pirates of the Caribbean were like hanging out, like pirating and doing stuff. Well, that was happening too.
There's an important like observation to make from that, though, is like the Switzerlands and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can choose to just not be a part of what every other person is duking it out over, which means you don't have to recognize that your country is at war. Like, you can be nice to people that happen to live in pretty similar situations to you in your enemy country. Don't be dicks to them. Like all the Asian violence that happened after the coronavirus happened to be like first seen in China.
Well, let's not ignore the Asian violence that happened from 1950-ish on.
Oh yeah,
too.
Fucking
like the Korean War, Vietnam, all that stuff, which fundamentally changed the landscape of that region. But before the Korean War
and the world,
North Korea used to be like a very wealthy place until all that happened. I mean, I do like a bit of MASH. It's a good series. It's a really good series, but that war was bullshit. Like, and it fucked these people over. For what? What have we gained? What has any war gained? Like World War One. What? We moved like 2 feet this way, 2 feet that way. I love Blackadder goes forth because there was a scene in there where they were like, oh, how much ground have we gained? And there's like this little patch of grassy dirt. And it's like this little tiny, little piece of dirt. And General Melchett was like, well, what's the scale of this? If I remember correctly. And Blackadder's like, well, 1 to 1. Like, so they gained literally 1 square foot of territory with all these people dying. Like, why did that happen? In World War One, like, oh my god, so many people died.
That is a really funny way to look at it.
Like, yeah,
all that shit happened for this bit of dirt.
Yeah, exactly. But then Now the enemy has gained that bit of dirt back again. You're moving back and forth. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing with World War II, just on a bigger scale. Like
all wars are fought over a bit of dirt that you want.
but then that same bit of dirt, when the sun explodes or goes supernova. Well, our sun wouldn't go supernova. Nova goes nova. Well, it's going to mean nothing. It's all irradiated. It's all dead. It's just a bunch of dust, and that's all you have to hold in your hands as a leader or a king of this place. We should consider that.
I'm imagining a political cartoon right now that shows like these little like ghost people that are holding onto their planets, and like, you know, the one holding Earth is like, ha, I made it the longest, but like Earth is just like a smoldering like mess of goo. It's
Yeah.
it's like, you know, maybe you've stayed your welcome.
Yeah. Well, one of the most important books for me when I was a kid, well, Wings for Pear was a pretty good one. But my mom actually, with one of her friends, redrew and recolored the book, The Little Prince, which was about a little boy that was living on a tiny little planet. And it totally affected me. Like, oh man,
Huh.
I should probably do like a book recommendation. Like My Box and String would be a good one.
We need to put out that like book reading you did.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I ever got around to uploading that.
Oh, what the
Match
really?
Girl or something?
The Match Girl? Yeah, the little Match Girl.
Yeah, that was cool. I don't think. I mean, there might be. It'll probably have like the copyright thing, like music, but you know that it's not a strike. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man,
that was really good. Yeah, maybe by the time this airs, hopefully that will be. Hopefully, I'll remember that.
Well, yes, I have a whole
or understand
pile.
my handwriting when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
What did I write?
I have a whole pile of children's books that I want to do readings for.
Okay, Michael Jackson.
Ooh, wait, no, whoa. Hey, hold on. Oh man.
No filter.
Man. I just go. I want to see people getting along, because honestly, when you put enough people into a space together, think of like a marketplace or something like that. People aren't fighting each other. They're just there and they're buying things. They're amazed at all the cool things that they're seeing. They're getting along. Like, you could put up a tent marketplace anywhere in the world, and everybody there will go there and buy things. Nobody's going to be fighting. They're going to be buying things and trading things. And, well, hopefully fucking, because that is also another way that you solve these kinds of conflicts. Like, oh man.
You always have to find a way to throw the fucking in there.
Well, I mean, it is an effective means of solving those kinds of conflicts. Well, they used to use that back in the days of kings and kingdoms and stuff like that. Like, sex fixes a lot of conflicts.
And what if you win? A night and a day in the bed of your good lady.
Well, exactly.
A night and a day in the bed of my good lady. And then she's like, we accept.
Mm.
Red Dwarf. You all
I'm
have to watch Red Dwarf.
I'm gonna have to watch that now. Yeah, we can't include that because apparently the BBC does not like any kind of Red Dwarf anything. That's verboten.
Chastity cheat.
Boom.
Now,
Oh,
now people are really going to be interested. Like,
yeah.
that
Well, go look up. Was it
was season
season
7.
7? Yeah, yeah. One of my
Ooh,
least favorite seasons, but I kind of like it. Like
there was good stuff in there.
there was. Yeah, yeah. Oh man.
All
Whew.
right.
Well, maybe coming up about almost an hour in now.
Yes.
I'd like to hear people's views on this whole Civil War thing, like what you think could happen or would happen or should happen. Um, like, how can we prevent it from happening? I
Well,
would
if
hope.
people got as deep as we did, they'd find out like how silly skirmishes are, like
Yeah,
really weigh how much it matters
yeah,
to you. Like people always joke like, oh, in the Cold War, someday we'll be speaking Russian. It's like, well, if that's all that changes your life is you speak a different language, how big a deal is that really?
yeah. Well, and I don't like the idea of people joking about war. Like, this is serious shit. If you have never been to war and had to like kill or die or see your friends die, like, I mean, that is a real thing. That is actually what happens when politicians declare war. Like, all of us fools and plebes, like, we are the ones that take up arms and kill each other for like reasons like we don't even know.
Well, and people suffer as a result, but
Yeah.
like that aren't even involved in the fighting because they lose loved ones to the fighting.
Well, the Russo-Ukraine war is a good example of that. More civilians have died there than soldiers. Well, Ukrainian soldiers, I should say. Um, like innocent people are dying. Their homes are destroyed. Like they're being displaced. Like for what? What is the reason? Why?
Dirt.
Yeah, dirt. Yeah, that's basically it. That's what it comes down to. Everybody's fighting over dirt. Like, if you
You're
look
fighting over fucking dirt, people.
uh-huh. Well, and there's that the oh, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Um it's a uh oh shit, now I can't remember. Um the damn it. Too much beer.
Ah, I just had an interesting thought about our style of show, and it's that it's like dead on, exactly like you're sitting across from somebody. Like
Mhm.
like Joe Rogan and stuff. It's always these 3/4 angles because that's like more comfortable for people to watch because it's not as like intense as this. But
Yeah.
like we're just facing the
Yeah.
viewer.
I'm
We're talking
watching
to
you.
you there on your bed or your couch
Yeah.
or at work when you should be working. You should be working when your butt is in the seat.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Don't work. Listen to us.
Yeah. Nice twist there. Uh, yeah. There's an equation about whether there's intelligent life out there. The Drake equation, if I remember correctly. Can't talk.
I thought that was like how much pee someone's mouth can hold.
No, well, I mean, I guess
Oh,
it
that's
could
a
be.
different Drake equation.
That could be the rapper Drake. I'm thinking of a different Drake. Um, but as far as like whether there is intelligent life out there, and when you plug in the numbers with what we know, the n equals 0. That the n being how many advanced civilizations that are willing to communicate that could possibly exist. So it's possible all we have is Earth. Like, here we are. This might be it. I personally, I don't believe that. I think there's a lot more out there. But according to this equation, that might be it. So maybe we should stop fighting over, swaths of dirt and start learning to get along. Like,
Yeah.
make friends with enemies. Like, hey, maybe we should get along and stop fighting over all this shit because, well, our fighting is destroying everything. Like, it's destroying the very thing that supports us. And there might not be anything left when we're done fighting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
This just in from the producer's booth. We are regretting to inform that I accidentally made fun of Drake when it was actually R. Kelly that peed on people. Drake just likes teenage girls.
Mm.
We're sorry about that mistake.
Wait, but hold on. R. Kelly does like teenage girls too, so
That is true.
yeah.
But he is the only one that has knowingly that we know of peed in somebody's mouth. So
Well,
I mean Drake may have, but we can't say yay or nay because
well, so I can't say yay or nay whether I'm in support of that, but kind of sounds like
demonetized.
yes. Yes, absolutely. Oh man. Well, this has been awesome.
Oh man, this show just like season 4, man. Like, holy shit. Can you remember like every season we're like, wow, this is like way deep, way deeper than the last season, and at some point we're gonna like reach a singularity. It's gonna happen.
It might.
This is the path to nirvana, people.
Exactly. Oh man. Well, and I found out today that it's not possible to fall into a black hole, even if you wanted to. Um,
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, there's that. Well, there's a whole Astrum. If you want to look up that channel, Astrum is a good one. It is not possible to fall into a black hole. Um,
Because at some point particles disagree with each other and push you
well,
back.
it's a quantum physics thing, and it has to do with angular momentum and a whole bunch of things, and the accretion disks. Like, it's not as simple as there's like a huge gravitational force and you're just falling into it. Well, the point is like most things fall at an angle and they start spinning and they spin faster and faster and faster, and then they hit that point where it's like you're hitting that threshold of the speed of light and you can't cross that. And in order to fall further down, you have to cross that. So you're just kind of spinning like for infinity around the accretion disk. Um, it, you'd have to watch the video.
Just one question. I followed all of that. It says, what is Grecian dicks? Is that like a porn thing?
Okay. Well, I promise the viewers we'll do a Grecian dicks video. But it might have to be on our OnlyFans page.
We
Hey,
have to make an actual
so
OnlyFans
yes,
page now
so
because
so if
this is
people,
like the third time we've.
yeah, so if people want to see like Grecian dicks videos, hop onto our OnlyFans page. And if you think we should create one, go ahead. And also share with me your OnlyFans page too.
Double demonetized. You owe YouTube money.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Every season this gets better and better. Uh, mm,
Oh man.
wow.
What if this show did have an OnlyFans? That would be interesting. It's all deep and philosophical, and then people are like, "Can we see your dick?" And like,
And then we're like, oh man. And the clothes come off and you could see it all if you pay for it. I mean, we don't really make that much money doing this.
tell you what, if people go to patreon.com/KSMvidcast and pledge $69 and more than two of you do that, well, we'll start an OnlyFans.
Yeah, okay. I can get behind that. Yeah.
But only as long as you keep it up.
What would that be?
That's what she said. That's what she said myself.
Wait, what is 2 times 69? That would be like 12, carry the 1.
Carry ends with a 1.
That'd be 108, 218?
300. I don't know.
Well, whatever
Math
the math
is
is, I don't want to. I'm too lazy to hit the numlock on my keyboard. So, hey, in the comment section, let us know what is the number that we need to achieve for an OnlyFans. Because I'd totally be fine with that. Like, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of my body, my sexuality, like whatever. And I'm totally okay with like people who do OnlyFans. There's a lot of people who are like, whoa, there's some kind of sluts and whores, and like they're just people.
Yeah,
they got bodies. Like, it's okay. People like bodies, and
if anyone said that to me, I would just be like, "How often do you masturbate?" And they'd be like, "What? What? You shouldn't ask a person that." And it's like, well, if you're gonna judge somebody else's sexuality, I'm gonna judge the fuck out of yours. So, like, how often do you jerk off? Like,
oh man,
like,
wow,
what's a pervert, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
maybe a handful of people out there like choose celibacy in order to like torture themselves.
Well, maybe those are the perverts though, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, like, that sounds like torture. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to me, a normal person is somebody who masturbates regularly, has sex regularly.
Well, there's health benefit. I've never seen a scientific journal say too much masturbation is bad for you. That's all propaganda from like the 50s about going blind or having hairy palms and like what. Where did this shit come up with? Who?
Wait. Hold on a second. Didn't I create way back in the early days of like the our old website a thing about like how Altair members masturbate daily and how we're not going to get cancer because of it? Oh man.
Well, that went out the window because I got cancer twice. I'm not jerking off enough.
You got to do it more. Come on, man. Okay, now don't ask me to help you.
We're not giving medical advice, by the way.
Yes, yeah. Just, it's a supposition.
We're joking around here.
Yeah,
we're making cancer jokes here, people. Like, leave us alone.
Yeah. Well,
I have a card in my wallet, I think, that says I can make cancer jokes.
Well, and if you are making counter cancer jokes, then we have to contend with Casey uh, having cancer twice.
I don't care, like
Yeah,
I try not to take offense to things. Like, I mean, I used to, but
but it's a
it's so much
joke.
more chill to just be like, hey, whatever, I'll let it roll off my back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and this goes back to like what I was talking about early on. Like, maybe the meme war is the best war to have.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be like joking about things and fighting ideas amongst each other
Instead of the Battle of Gettysburg, it's going to be like the sick burn on like 14 August.
Yeah, it'll be like a Twitter battle.
Yeah. It goes down in memory as being like, dude, he made the baddest dad joke right then. Like, oh my God. We annihilated their team.
Yeah, and why not? And honestly, there's no difference. There's no difference there. Like,
yeah, you get to win something. Woohoo!
Well, it's kind of like sports.
Yeah,
sports ball and stuff. Like, oh man,
how do you even draw the line on the end of a war?
Oh,
like, at what point does it become not a war anymore? Like that escapes me too. How are these things starting and ending? We don't even fucking know.
That's a good point. Like the Korean War never ended because, well, that no man's land between North and South Korea is still a thing.
People just kind of went home.
Yeah. Half a century later, though, people still take it seriously.
What is that? Like, the 52nd parallel or something? Like it has a name, right?
So. Like, yeah. I don't know.
Parallel, plus or minus 4.
Yeah, like, well, it doesn't even matter what the number is. It's equally irrelevant.
Yeah. Dirt.
Yeah, it's basically a bunch
dirt over dirt. Yonder.
People are fighting over dirt. That is ultimately what it comes down to. Like, that is war. People are fighting over dirt.
Dude, that is a whole stand-up routine right there.
Yeah.
You could just say that phrase and then riff on it for an hour and put it on Netflix.
Shit.
And that's what we take so serious.
I totally could do that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fighting over dirt, a Netflix comedy sketch, sketch that shows you war is really just fighting over dirt. And that's something I should be laughing at.
We should be.
I mean, not laughing at the way it is now, but
you don't want to laugh
skirmish in the moment.
Yeah, you don't want to laugh at like the souls who have lost their lives there, right. but like I think the lunacy of fighting over dirt is a good point. Like, yeah,
I've never thought of it that way until you mentioned that, like how World War I was kind of just like, with Blackadder the 4th, which was the best season.
Yes, it was.
That stuff sticks with you, and you may not even realize like how poignant that is. That's what I love about British humor is like they get those political digs in everywhere.
And
it reminds you of like how dumb shit was at one point. Like, people were fighting over this, bucket of dirt. And the whole world got into it. Let's not do that again.
And when politicians and the powers that be try to entice you into fighting for that pile of dirt, well, you're gonna remember that and be like,
you should be like, what's in it for me?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, wait a minute, what the hell? Why would I fight for that?
Why is our military kind of like, I mean, I know they get like some super dope benefits, but like, why aren't they just like in the moment, like, you want me to kill someone? Like, well, that's gonna like fuck with my head for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and for what? And
Yeah,
also,
I'm gonna keep paying the bill on something that you cash in and then forget about later, you know?
ooh, that's good.
Yeah, like what
Well,
the fuck are you giving me? Like we really should be treating like simultaneously, I would love to see less wars, and I would really love to see like more dedicated, like fewer, more dedicated, stronger, faster soldiers that like put their lives on the line, and and ask their families to put their emotions on the line should they
yeah.
have to sacrifice themselves for their country, and then create all that loss. Like
Mhm.
that, those things are like beautiful and poetic and poignant, but you saturate that phenomenon with those many stories,
Mhm.
and it starts to blur, and it starts to look uglier. Like there is valiance, there is honor and all that stuff, but like we got to remember our population is growing so much, like a lot.
Yeah.
Like you may think like going from like 6 billion to 7 billion in 30 years or whatever it took is not a big deal, but like a billion of something is a lot.
Well,
Like,
and that is all the more reason for us to get along and find ways to solve these problems before they turn into like hot conflicts. Like we
eh,
we have technology right now to obliterate the whole planet. Like nuclear war would be the worst possible outcome we could ever have.
oh my
We
god.
we have that technology, yet we're still inclined to fight each other and engage in conflicts and utilize our super expensive military equipment and develop new and novel ways of killing each other. For what? Over what? What are we
Yeah,
fighting over?
and this will piss people off. The government's doing it whether or not you vote for it or not, because how do
Uh,
you vote for somebody who's for or against war?
yeah.
Because like they may say it all they want to, but you cannot quickly affect the direction of a war just
Well,
with your
you
personal influence. Like you can't be like, I'm going to stop all wars or whatever. Like people feel that. They might not like consciously think that, but I think subconsciously they're like, oh, they pretend like they don't like war, so they're not going to get us into a war, so I'm going to vote for them. But then there's others that are like, more bombastic or whatever, and they're like, oh, I think they'll protect us from the others, like,
it
and you
does
get that divide.
it does kind of dissolve into this kind of like us versus them, like that,
Mhm.
like you're for us or you're against us, that kind of thing, which it that's self-defeating. Like what
It is,
that,
yeah.
that's not the way we should conduct ourselves. If I honestly think this is something I think about all the time. Aliens. I know it's stupid, but I imagine like what if an alien species came down to this planet, how would they view us? Would they view us as a bunch of savages who are inclined to just fight amongst each other? Or would they view us as an enlightened, wise bunch of beings? And that's borne out by like how warfaring we are. Like
Yeah,
how much energy do we put into warfare equipment? How much energy do we put into humanitarian equipment? Like where do we put our emphasis? Is it in fighting each other or is it in bettering each other? Like I
we'll
would
never meet
argue,
aliens, you and I.
yeah.
People in our generation, we will never meet aliens, because if they're benevolent, they would want to wait until we could get together as a whole
Mm-hmm.
before revealing themselves to us. And if they wanted us dead, we'd be dead.
Oh,
So like we're not
absolutely.
we're not really going to interact with alien life until they decide we're ready.
Well, and it might unfortunately take some kind of conflict, like a massive, stupidly wasteful conflict where we just kind of destroy everything.
Yeah.
Um, before we emerge more wise than before. Like, well, that was dumb.
And here we are talking about ways of avoiding the thing that's necessary to get to that point.
Yeah.
Is wiping everything out.
Which
means we would probably die. But
it's possible, yeah.
But people that, I mean, neither of us have kids that we know of. And we're not really going to leave anything else behind.
Well, if there's nuclear war, we're not going to have kids after that. Just saying.
I already had a nuclear war in my body, so
yes, you did. Oh man, that was.
So I don't have kids.
That was something
pretty damn sure. I can be very safe in saying that I don't have kids.
Actually, I cannot. And in fact, I can be confident in saying I probably have kids out there.
Oh dang.
Yeah.
Well, you should try to find them.
I'd be totally okay with that. Like,
well, you owe something to that.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like if you actually think there's a good chance you have a kid out there, fuck, you should be like, hey, I want to be a part of that kid's life.
I absolutely do. Yeah. Oh man. Wow.
That's another episode actually we should do, is like the whole maternity paternity thing. Like,
oh yeah,
there's divide in that.
Man.
And that ties into some of our abortion episodes too, because like there are not terrible arguments for a man having a say in terminating a pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like it's not automatically bad just because they don't carry the baby. Like, you expect a father to give a shit and give you child support money if the baby's born, but you don't let him have a say in whether or not it's born at all.
No,
and I'm not like siding with that particularly, no, but I'm just saying it's not invalid either.
You're correct. And I feel like the idea that things should be kind of condensed into a monetary system kind of dismisses the whole argument entirely, and
human connection.
Yeah, like it dismisses the humanity of a person. Like, we're not a bunch of money. We're not a bunch of numbers. We're human beings.
It should be you are required to be in the life of that child.
Yeah.
Supervised. And if it's determined that you are a negative impact on that child's life for having spent time with them, then you owe the state money. Like, there's no interpersonal exchange of money. There's no like lawyers fighting over that just so they can get a chunk of that. It's just that, like, if you fuck up as a parent, then you pay a fine to the government to fund the supervisor for that. And it's simple.
Whether you have a penis or a vagina.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the connection with the child, not about who carried it or not.
Well, because
like, yes, that shit hurts, but it wouldn't have happened without.
That is the argument that is put out there, like in support of those things. Like, it's all about the children. So, if it's all about the children, then we should be focused on the children, not the parents, not politics, not the rigmarole that we concern ourselves with. That's immaterial. Well, we should be focused on the children.
And that's the other half of it too, is like birth control. Like, if you're truly pro-life, you're pro-birth control, because then you're taking that step and you're being like, I'm going to protect this child's life by making sure it's never a child to begin with. You know, like, you care enough to not put yourself in that situation in the first place,
Well, because
to be prophylactic about it. But like, to take that away and to take away, like, your choice on whether or not to be stuck with the decision that you were forced into by taking away the other thing.
Exactly.
I mean, like,
Oh,
if you just look at it that way, it's like, like, between the red and the blue, like I asked earlier in the show, like, hypothetically, which do you see more, like, morality in? Like, who would you side with if you actually had only two choices? Live and go with these guys or die with these guys. Like, that's what you choose.
man, that dude, that is like the most difficult question
It is.
ever posed. Because I couldn't side with anybody, honestly. It's kind of like,
And I
do
wonder
you
if
do
that
you
shortens
side?
our lifespans.
So okay, let's say your only two choices for your team membership is Hitler or Stalin. That's it. Do you side with Hitler or do you side with Stalin? They both killed millions of people. Like, they're responsible for millions of people dying.
But you don't hear people being like, oh, you're acting just like Stalin. They always jump to Hitler. So,
Well, it's true.
like colloquially, Hitler was worse. And I won't say like numerically or statistically or anything. Just
Well, okay.
colloquially, it's always add Hitler.
Okay, that's correct, but my point, I think, still stands. It's like, okay, they're both really bad choices. So why do you have to pick amongst the shit burger or the mold burger?
But
Like, if
there
I
is a
only have the
saying that
two.
is actually accurate, and it's like, if you don't choose, the choice will be made for you. Like, it's gonna
Okay, well,
happen anyway.
okay, that is a huge problem. Why should that happen? Why can I not live and let live? Why can I not live my life independently, make friends, live my life, be free? Why do I have to take a side? Why do I like I
Because of
don't
freedom of choice.
well
Everybody
right,
else has a
but
freedom of choice to oppress you, and you have to fight back against that.
well, okay, you're correct in that. However, I don't really like football. But imagine if the system, the powers that be, said, well, football is how we decide things. So you have to pick a football team. But it's like, I don't fucking like football. It is shit. Well, unless it's like European football, maybe, I guess. But then
Yeah, I find that more boring.
it's only more boring because the points, and
Yeah.
actually that makes it more exciting. Uh, but that's a personal thing, and so there is that too. Like, well, how come your opinion of things matters more than mine? Why? Like, oh my god. Well, holy shit.
We could do
This,
a whole episode on points. Like,
yes,
basketball is like 1, 2, and 3, and tennis is like, there's words in there. Like, they start counting and then they throw in words.
dude. We should totally do a video about sports ball. We absolutely should.
We should actually. We
Oh
don't we
man.
don't have any sports material actually. That's like the one thing we haven't covered.
And wouldn't you know it? I'll bet you that is the one thing that's going to go viral.
Oh yeah.
As soon as we start talking about football or soccer,
Yeah,
yeah,
football. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
or pro wrestling or something like that. Yeah, that's the
My
time it's
guy
going to go
threw
viral.
ball better than your guy. No, my guy caught ball better than your guy.
Oh man.
We're all fucking troglodytes. Sorry.
Well, okay, speak for
Well, not
yourself.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a fucking brother in the NFL and I don't give a shit about football.
Oh man.
That's
I
how little I care about sports. It's like, oh yeah, I think it's cool that you like achieve that. I don't really care though. I'm
yeah,
like,
I mean just
personally,
like
like that's not something I would care about for myself.
yeah, not
Yeah.
personally or be personally invested in like you like I don't wake up every day and look at the stats for football. I play fantasy football with an really old friend of mine from back in middle school, but I don't care. I don't care who the teams are. I don't care who the players are. I don't care who wins. Doesn't matter. Like, the athleticism though is kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
it is nice to watch people do really amazing things and like highlight videos and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. Like sometimes sports ball is kind of fun. Um
Yeah. I
it,
mean, like I get more kick out of stuff like the biomechanics. It's like
Mhm.
in football, I'm always most amused by people that are offsides. It's like, oh, your reflexes went a little too soon. You didn't
Uh-huh.
you didn't time that neuron firing just right.
Mhm.
Like I'm all nerdy about that shit. I'm like, oh, you jumped the gun. Ah.
Well, and me as like an engineer, I always look at like the ball, like
Mhm.
rugby and football. Like, okay, who dreamt this weird, funky, elongated, egg-shaped ball up? Like, how is that the thing that you use? Because technically, this should not fly. Like, and
Well,
so I'm
depends on
kind
what
of
you define flying as.
well, that's
Because
true.
in a helicopter fashion, the football shape, even though it doesn't fly like this in normal football, you'll see it have the tendency to do so if
Mm-hmm.
not thrown exactly in a certain way.
Which
So,
does that speaks to the athleticism of
yeah,
people playing the game.
yeah. But I
However,
think that's the point of the shape of the ball is to like add that challenge.
yeah, to limit what people can do, because if it was like a spherical ball, it would be a totally different game.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be the European
Oh, yeah. The
football again.
aerodynamics would be incalculable.
Uh-huh.
Like, unless, like, unless condensed down to the weight of a baseball,
Uh-huh.
where you could have a little control over that. Like, I think there's a little bit too much mass with a football, American football, that, like, that wouldn't really be as impactful.
Yeah.
So it's more about the technique.
Which does
Well, not necessarily
play
more though, but like it plays a heavier role, I guess.
well, yeah, and it does play into like why people get excited about things
Oh man, I
like
never
that.
thought we could have an episode on sports, but I bet we could. Yeah.
Yeah, we should. Okay. Well, let's cut this short for now. I'm sorry for all the sports ball people out there who are excited. Like, oh, wow, they're about to get nerdy about sports ball.
But like
Uh,
legit nerdy about
yeah,
physics and
exactly.
biochemistry.
But it does play into it. Like, I get why people play sports. I like, I don't poo poo sports. Like, this is sports is actually a good thing because it kind of it's a substitute for war. Like it's a lot better that we pick our teams and fight about them and stamp our feet and paint ourselves in the colors of our team, and don't actually kill each other over that. Like humans have figured out a way to to have warfare without warfare. And that's a good thing. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's what makes sports good. Like, okay, I could totally get behind that.
We've had a lot of episodes lately that boil down to conflict.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a running theme this season. Like, that's
Huh.
kind of interesting in itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've had global conflict, we've had snapping, and now like civil war, which, as we've seen, just boils down to conflict.
It
You
kind
know,
of does.
just general, like, not even that big of a deal conflict that
Mm,
just burns out of control.
yeah, and pretty soon people are shooting each other in the face over that. Uh, you'd be better off like throwing a weirdly shaped ball back and forth uh, between each other and taking sides. If you're gonna take sides, don't take sides on political divides. Take sides on the sports ball team divides. Um, whatever. Oh, Ichiro though, best baseball player ever. Uh, okay. Anyway, I was just watching a video of him today. Yeah.
I wasn't as aware of him as King Griffey Jr.
Oh, Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah,
I was just
man.
cleaning up at my dad's place and found like an old Ken Griffey Jr. card just lying there in a
What?
pile of dust. You know, like,
What?
yeah,
Oh,
not like a rookie. Well, I have a couple somewhere up in the attic, probably covered in mildew now.
mhm.
Rookie 1989 Upper Deck King Griffey Juniors. You
Oh,
know, like I had like the whole set that never opened. It was like all however many cards. So in there somewhere is King Griffey Jr. And at the time it was like worth so much, and now it's worth like $12.50.
although you know that.
You never know when something's
Well,
going to be worth
Ken
something.
Griffey Jr. though hasn't changed in all these years. Like his value is still the same. Like all of this sports ball stuff is no different than the Roman Colosseum, the you know gladiators fighting tigers and whatnot, and tigers eating Christians and stuff.
Oh
Uh,
my.
we're we're still in the same place, and maybe that's a better way to be. Wouldn't it be better to have a conflict based on some kind of game that we agree on, where we throw a weird ball around, rather than like shoot guns at each other and kill each other and drop bombs on each other?
Huh.
Oh, sorry, I'm just waxing philosophical about this.
I wonder when humans discovered that they could end each other's lives.
I don't know, but I know that like the Aztecs played sports ball. Like that was a thing in the like Aztec days. So
Dang.
thousands of years ago, sports ball was a thing,
Oh yeah.
and people took it fucking seriously. And we're still doing that today. Like fantasy football and watching sports games and stuff like that, and rooting for your home team and cheering and painting your face and punching out like the players or fans of the opposing team still happens today. I mean, maybe that's a better way to wage war, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what the best way to do it, but it seems better to me.
But we definitely have to do it. It's
Well,
in our
yes.
nature. It's not even nature, it's physics.
Yeah.
Physics comes before nature. Like it is physics.
Well, yeah, and that competition is what made us able as humans to rise above everything else, all the other primates, all the other mammals, and build the ISS. And which ultimately, the ISS to me is a symbol of peace, like, and conflict. Like, okay, we were enemies a while ago, but now we're friends. Mir, like, we will build this thing together and we're going to make a better future for our children. Um, Now there is the saying, like, why build a better future for your children when you should build better children for planet Earth?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like,
Well, man.
mhm.
I've had a lot of beers, so the only station I see myself docking at is the PIS.
Yes. I might have to do the same thing. So I think we should cut this short, but I hear there's a song
Yep.
queuing up there.
Yep. And it's
Yeah.
just the right frequency that it's tickling my bladder.
Okay, please don't pee on me.
We
Unless
were
you
talking about R. Kelly and Drake earlier. Funny how everything comes full circle, isn't it?
totally does.